after a good walk around the lake. I've pitched in here, and yeah, looks good. I've seen a few fish with their back stuck out of the water. You can just about see them tufts of weeds sticking out. There's another one there, one up there. Basically off the edge of those it drops down to about 4 foot, and then the inside line of reeds I've got a channel literally what drops off 12 foot straight in front of those and goes out about probably 8 yards. So it's quite a tight channel and it's quite deep, but with the fish showing on that shallow bar over there, I've got one in the channel just in case anything decent swims up and down it, but I really think the fish are going to be somewhere in the shallower water, just because the sun's been out, but it keeps keep on having good showers. The peg I fished last time in the pond, basically I was sat over there and then fishing the pond out there, and basically the fish, this is the corner the fish kited round, and it amazes me they're still here 2 weeks later. When I'm stood in the water down there, I can just about make it past that corner and out towards that telegraph electric pylon. Between the pylon and the tree, to be honest, there's a huge clear area, and that's another 12 foot deep. But I've put a bit of bait on that one. I've managed to swat a bit of bait without disturbing the fish too much over here. So, you know, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket, but these other 2 spots I've just peppered, just to see if I can get one to feed. You know, I'm here for a couple of 3 nights, so I don't want to sit there just on stringers, to be fair. But I wanted to put a little bit out just to get them used to finding the odd bit, and I can just more or less feed to me bites. Keep flicking a little bit out every now and again. But we'll see what happens. So to be honest, it's been quite warm today setting off, and then absolutely chucking down with rain, as you can see by all this mud here. It's going to be interesting. I had to come round in my chest waders. The path was slightly flooded, so I hope we don't get too much more rain, to be fair. So anyway, wish me luck, and I might see you in the morning with the fish, see what happens. Morning. It's about 6:30 in the morning. It's a quiet night last night. But, well, I kept getting the odd liner on me middle rod. My liner just pulled up into the middle of the eyes a bit from where the fish have been knocking my line. So I just nipped out and slackened it back off. So we'll I've obviously seen a couple more fish out on that bar literally 10 minutes ago, with their backs out of the water. It's only shallow, so I'm keeping it quiet, and I don't know whether you can see that one. There's a fish just over there. I don't think you can pick it up with this. But we'll see what happens. It's looking good for a bite, so you never know. So I'll save the moving around, and I'm going to sit back on my bed chair, keep it nice and quiet. It's clear water. We'll see what happens. Catch you in a bit. 28 pound 6 ounce. cracking fish.
Bit of a ghosty.
Yeah. I've found a little patch amongst the squid, and probably about 4 foot of water just out of a channel. Lovely clean fish, isn't it?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Beauty. Oh,
Cool.
they're getting bigger. Sorted, mate. Beautiful.
Great.
He goes. Oh yeah, back again. Had a beautiful 28 pound, was it 28 pound 6 ounce common, ghosty common this morning. Absolutely fantastic. Well chuffed with that. It seems to be coming together a bit. I've managed to intercept the fish. If you remember last time, I had a bit of a rough session waiting for them to come round into the bay. They come round a bit late, so what I've done, I've maybe way round the point where they come round, and where I saw them rolling and splashing and sticking their heads out, I've basically moved into there. I had a bit of an inkling they might be here actually, but you know, it's two weeks on since that session, so it's looking good. Plenty of fish in the area. I'm surprised I haven't had another one, to be honest. It's like mid-afternoon now. It's quite warm. It's absolutely brilliant. To be honest, the odd storm cloud keeps coming over, but keeps the pressure down a bit. But yeah, it's looking really good. I've moved another rod up onto the shallows slightly. With all the fish with their backs out the water, I can't see the point in keeping 2 of the rods deep and only 1 shallow, so I've swapped it around. I've just got 1 deep and I've got the other 2 shallow. But the problems you get with the shallow water, there's obviously weed. Basically one of little solid bags, encapsulated my lead and everything, and coming down on top of the siltweed. The other rig is pretty much my standard rig. I basically got a couple of PVA nuggets and a little triangle of boilers, so that, you know, sits up off the bottom, a bit like fishing the silt, but obviously I'm not in silt, I'm in weed. There is the odd silt patch about, but on here, on the shallow bar, there's plenty of weed out there, but it's just finding the right spot. I did reel in 1 rod from last night, and it was hung up on a piece of weed, so I'll see how this session goes, to how many bites I get, to whether I need to change something else. But I think if there's quite a bit of weed, I think solid bags might be the way. But so many fish here is unbelievable. There's another one with its back out of the water now. Literally, where they've got their backs out of the water, it must be only 18 inches deep. So, and I'm fishing just on the where it just starts to drop off, and I've got about 4 foot of water there. I've tried putting one really shallow, but there's that much weed in there, they're just swimming amongst the tops of the weed. So I've just got to wait, let them come down slightly. But and then I've got one in the channel as well, 12 foot of water. The funny thing was, when I got it here, there was nobody else on the lake. The paths were a bit flooded, muddy walkways. I've had to put my chesties on just to get around into the peg. It's probably only 6 inches of water, but it makes it a bit hard to push your barrow through, put it that way. But walking around the lake, a lot of people say, well, how'd you go, what you look for when you're picking a peg, spotting fish, that type of thing. Generally, if you see a fish stick its nose out, it's probably not on his own. I'd almost guarantee that fish isn't on its own, even if it's a massive lump. It's probably got a couple of mates with it, or generally, if it's out in the middle of the lake, if there's one fish sticks his head up out of the water, you're probably looking at, I don't know, it could be just one of the feeding fish out the shoal. There could be 20, 30, 40, 50 fish there. That's why a lot of people, like in the winter for instance, if you see a fish roll and they put a rod on it, and they go, oh, that fish picked it up straight away. It's generally probably not even that fish, it's probably just, pinpointing where the shoal is. You dropped a rod on it, and one bait amongst 30 odd fish, you're going to get a pick up really on. So yeah, and I've basically walked around the lake, keeping my eyes peeled, spending probably 10 minutes in each peg, and trying to pick spots to look from. What gives me the biggest area of water to look at. So it's a bit like when I was standing over there, right over there where I was fishing last time in the pond. I saw a fish stick its back out over here, so I had a walk round and found another good viewing point, and so I could actually see back into where I was fishing last time, and vice versa. It's you keep your eyes peeled, but you need to be patient and spend enough time. Like, I'm quite lucky in a way. I don't know whether they just stick their heads up and wave at me, I don't know, but I seem to find fish not really easy, but they always seem to show me where they are. Last session I took a bit of a gamble, waiting for the fish to come in on the weather. Now what I know now, I don't think it was the way to go, to be honest. It could have really paid off, getting all the traps set. They seem to be spooky in that area, like this area here. I've had a little bit of a cast around, it doesn't seem to have bothered the fish, but in that pond around the corner, they're so spooky in there, it's unbelievable. But on the way back down this end of the lake, I dropped my bucket in here, carried on looking down this other side of the lake, all the way round, and basically I didn't see nothing else down there, and came back up here, and then they got their backs out the water again. So that's made a good decision on where to go. So you could see blows as well. You could it's not the only show if it's windy and you can't see it a lot because of the white water. Every now and again, if a fish just comes up near the surface, it creates a little flat spot. That's the sort of areas you want to be looking at. Keep your concentration on those sort of areas, and sooner or later, one will stick its head up. You might have to sit there an hour sometimes, but it's definitely worth doing, because if you're there for a couple of nights, you don't want to really be sat in a peg with no fish at all in there. So spending a little bit of time before you get the gear out of the van, it's the best way forward. If like a lot of people say, oh, I fancy going in or whatever, in the bushes, if you like it, if there's a pig called bushes, they fancy saying that, and they'll make their mind up before they've even left the house. It's not the way forward. And if you want to catch plenty of fish, you want to get on the fish, because it makes getting bites so much easier, obviously. Right then, I'll see you in a bit, hopefully with another kipper. Right then, I've got a couple of presentations here for you I've been using in the weed and in the chod. Obviously you've got your bog standard chod rig, and there's basically a solid bag, but generally I only use boilers. I tend to be getting pestered by the bream when I start putting pellet in, so I've just tied a couple up to drop in the margins so you can have a look at how they break down. Obviously I'll use my normal rigs and my normal lead clip presentation on my diffusion leaders if I'm fishing on a clear spot. So you know, if I'm a bit unsure and the lake bed is a bit, let's see if we can find a bit for you. Lake bed's a bit choddy like that. You know, it's give yourself half a chance of good presentation. You want to be casting something out what's going to either flatten it down or basically just give you generally a good presentation, chance for a pickup. So I'll just drop these in the water and I'll show you. Right then, I'll literally just drop the chod rig in the water, sat nicely on top of all the bits of chod. What can you say? Well, you know, it's one of those rigs, chuck anywhere rigs, but generally I like to fish me up baits on the deck, but it is a way of fishing in the chod, obviously. Right, I'll pop the other one in. Right then, I'll just drop the solid bag in there. As you can see, there's a little PVA nugget just holding my upbait up. Considering how much is in the bag, it's a cracking way to create a tiny little trap. It's surprising how little it looks, actually, considering the amount that you put in the bag, generally because it's all sat on top of each other. But that's the good thing about it. It actually, the weight of it, it'll just squash you a little flat spot on the top of the weed and bits and pieces, and it's going to guarantee it's going to go through the weed. The hook's not going to hang up on anything. And as you can see, I've got my little snowman with a little white pop up on the top, and underneath that there's a little foam nugget. So yeah, when that foam nugget comes off, that's going to sit back down nicely on the top of the free offerings. So that's a really good one for if it's really choddy, bits of weed, and you're a bit concerned that your hook's going to get hung up and you're a bit worried about presentation. Just use a little solid bag, and you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to be guaranteed that the fish is actually going to be able to pick it up and get it into its mouth. There we go. Rig sat down nice, sat on top of a load of chod. It's probably half sunk in actually, but a great way of presenting bait in really soft choddy stuff, bits of weed. You know, a fish could come along, snaffle that up, first bait it's going to go, and sat on top. Great little method for in the right situation. Fantastic. Had a little fish come for a look as well. It's a monster squid for you. Shows you how attractive it is. Crazy. Well then, I'll sort my other presentations out and I'll show you those as well. Those ones are more for clear spots actually, but I might as well show you how I get them out. It's like a small trap sort of method, but it's a good way of getting your braid out without it tangling up. Right then, at last the sun's come out. Right, chain reaction, fantastic bit of kit. I even crumble those up into my solid bags as well. They have that many uses, unbelievable. Yeah, I'll drop one of those in the edge. Another way of stopping your braided up length tangling. You can pretty much thread it all the way back up to the lead, not a problem. So obviously you can see my little snowman sat on the end. So if you've got a big chuck, they go out lovely, to be fair. Right, I'll drop them in the edge for you. Right then, I've just dropped her in the edge. Give her 5 minutes and come back and take a look. There we go. Nice chain reaction. And you can see just in the holes behind it, the monster squid scent oozing out. Obviously the fish, little fish find it attractive, but you know, that's a brilliant presentation on top of weed, because they're quite heavy when they first go in. But yeah, little bits of attraction floating off, and looks absolutely spot on. What more proof do you want? There's a little fish trying to eat it all. It's a good way of getting your braided duck length out on the spot. You know, it probably won't be there for long with a little fish eating it like that, but obviously if there's big carp in the area, there's not going to be that many small fish. So good little presentation that. Well, then I'll save my favourite one till last, to be honest. So I'll get that set up for you and drop it in the edge, and I'll show you. I'll just go through. I'll set this one up. This little presentation. Right. I've got 3 15mm baits in a stocking tied as a triangle. And basically what I'll do, I'll just give them a squeeze and pop them into half baits. Okay, give them a wriggle, but try and keep the same triangular shape. So now they're pretty much 5 or 6 split baits. And I pop my needle through the middle and thread it down onto my hook length. And between 2 of the baits, the natural gap in the baits, that's where I'm going to pull the hook. Basically that stops your hair tangling, and what that does, that gives that, when you're casting, that gives that wind resistance. So as it flies through the air, it keeps it away from your main line, and it's creating weight but not giving it too much weight, if you like. It's acting as wind resistance, and then when you, like all these presentations, drop them down on a tight line, and with this one you get water resistance, same sort of way as you get wind resistance. Keeps it away, and you'll be surprised how that flies, to be honest. And then basically what I'll do, I'll just lick this. That little squeeze beyond there, and basically what that'll do, that'll give that some buoyancy, and that'll stand up off the bottom, and the split baits will break out, and basically that'll coil back down, coiled up onto the lake bed. Obviously without the 3 baits, because they would have come out the PV out. So and that's pretty much my coil rig, and that's caught me hundreds of fish. As the fish come along, they can suck it in from any direction, and you know, and it shocks the hell out of them. So I'll drop this in the edge and show you how it works. As you can see, the bait's burst out. And that's coiled down. Creating a nice little trap, and the end's coiled round, and basically the fish can come from any direction, pick it up, and they're nailed because they get that much rope. They suck it straight into the back of their throat, and something that goes in that easy, they're not expecting an hook to be on the end of it. So there you go. To be honest, if you take a bit more time with the squeezing the 3 baits, they do all split, to be honest. So yeah, keep that in mind, and see if I can catch a fish on one of these presentations. So just a matter of time. Looks like room for a storm. Oh yeah, it's a bit windy today. On my new Syndicate water, I thought, well, while I'm sat here waiting for a bite, I thought I'd let you in on one of my little tricks I do. If I'm baiting up basically small trap style, little trails, that type of thing, what I generally like to do, just to increase my chance of getting another bite, you know, that's a bit of confidence there for you, but if I'm really in the frame of mind that there's a few fish about and I want to get a few bites, or I'm waiting for fish to move in and they're not too far away, generally what I'll do, basically trying to get the consistency the same so I can feed the same bait, consistency of bait when they start feeding is quite easy to do, to be honest. Basically what I'll do, first time I'll cast the rod out, and I'll pepper it with a few baits. What I'll do, I'll get an empty bucket, bit of lake water in it, a couple of handfuls of bait in the water, so I've got some bait soaking. The same time scale as what my freebies are out in the lake. So when I do get a bite, whether it's 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, whenever I get a bite, I'll be able to pepper it with a few freebies in exactly the same consistency of what they were eating at the time when I got the bite. So, you know, with a bit of less smell in the bait, slightly softer as well. You know, if the fish are moving in and out, I don't want to spook them with a couple of handfuls of fresh bait. If there's, you know, and it could get me, you know, 2 or 3 fish on the spot instead of just getting the one. Putting a few extra freebies out, the extra smell spooks the fish out, because it's not what the consistency of bait what they've been eating when they, you know, they came in marching through and took me up bait as well. So basically I can feed a few softer baits and it's exactly the same as what they've been feeding on, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before. So it's a cracking little trick, and like I say, it's so simple to do. Just pop some in a bucket when you first bait up, and you know, I generally just a couple of handfuls, you know, and they've gone really nice consistency. You know, to be honest, the monster squid, they've gone softer, and they've obviously some of the smells leaked out of them into the water in my bucket, but that's generally what I want. It's going to match up with what I've got out there. So cracking little trick for getting extra bites. So try that one, but obviously when I bait up again, redo the rod later in the day, or if I'm baiting up a heavier baited spot where I want mass of smell off the bait, then obviously I use the neat monster squid straight out the bag type of thing. But generally that's a good little trick for you, and it can get your extra bites on a morning where, you know, you might have just ended up with the one. So keep that in mind and give it a go. Nice one. Right then, just had a beauty. I hadn't long done the rods, to be honest. 31 dead. Oh, beautiful fish, lovely merit. Oh. Again, out of Shropshire. Coming together a bit now. What a beauty. Monster squid again. Off the same spot as the 28. About 4 foot of water on the side of the channel. Thought I'd show you. Beautiful fish. Oh. July. Thought I'd tell you. Oh, what a stunner. Just over a lightly peppered spot. Beautiful. I'm messing around with a new rig, but I'm sure you'll see that in another video a bit further down the line. So I'll get her back and see if we can get another bite out in a bit. Absolutely fantastic. Just at a 31 mirror, but that fish, he took me, basically hooked him just on the end of the shadows there, really, just off the side of the channel, and he's gone back through a load of weed on there, and then kited left and gone basically straight down to the channel. He got me stuck, but after a bit of patient pulling and waiting a little and a bit more pulling, he's started to move, and once he's moving, he's basically freed himself out of the weed, and I managed to get him in. But it's certainly quieting the swim down a bit. I haven't seen a fish since I've had that one, actually. I suppose it's just me being greedy, I suppose, but just coming into my last night now. So see what happens, eh? The rod's in the water, there's always chance of a bite. Well, I'm just coming to the end of the session. Last night I had a 19 common. Not long after, I think that was the straw that broke the horse's back, so to speak. It pretty much drove the rest of the carp out of the area. Literally, I could hear them basically rolling, and then they'd be rolling a bit further down the lake. This morning I've stuck my head in the peg right next door, and I can see them rolling right down the lake. To be honest, as the session's gone, I've had a Boston session. I've had 3 fish out. It's been an absolute brilliant session. But to be honest, it does pay you to be a bit mobile, I think. By the looks of it, if I was doing a longer session, I'd literally have to be moving now. But I'm just packing up this morning. But it shows you, a couple of 3 fish out of an area. They won't take much more pressure than that. And it won't take much more pressure than that. So probably a tip for this session is keep mobile and keep your eyes open. But see what happens next time, eh? Literally, it's absolutely chucked it down all night, as you can see. So I'll be going home, drying all my stuff out yet again. I think this rain must like me. Or like making me suffer going home with a van full of wet gear, one or the other. But yeah, had a great session, really enjoyed it. So I'll see you back on here in a couple of weeks. Next week I've got a bit of a guest session on somebody's pool, so I'll see how I go on there. But looks good. I think these fish need to start packing a bit of weight on there. A lot of them are still spawned well out, so I think they could do with getting some decent grub in their bellies. I'll pop the rest of my bait in as I'm going, and hopefully it'll do them some good. So I'll see you next time.